This is Empire Talks back. Happy Sunday morning. Happy birthday, Miss Crystal. Happy birthday, Paulette. Happy birthday to all of those other birthday folks that I missed yesterday and today and probably will miss tomorrow. But understand, if God sent you here, I'm glad that you made it, even if you're a Trumpite, because we need the resistance to determine our strength. And I'm telling you, boy, there is a lot of resistance from the Trumpites. I say that because it's true. And when I say resistance, I mean resistance to the truth that we're all here on the same planet that God made, that has threatened us with eviction because of our conduct in his property, on his property. Oh my goodness, we have so much that we can be doing much better than we are. That's why we named our nonprofit Improve, because we do need to improve. And we can all do that every day, every day, every day. There's room for improvement. I'm blessed today to have with us a couple of guests that you've had access to before. One, Miss Pearl Devers, the founder of the Survivors of the Palm Springs Section 14, and attorney Avila Martin. And I say Martin slowly because that's my mother's maiden name, and I don't know, we may be relatives. We've got the same attitude about people that are faking, people that are breaking the rules and laws of time. But she's an attorney that is indeed representing the Palm Springs Section 14 survivors, and she's also working very closely with someone that I would love to call a buddy, a friend of mine, somebody that I hang out with. But I have to tell the truth, I don't hang out with President-to-be Kamala Harris, but Ms. Martin does. She's part of that team working to bring the presidency to a reality against the false claims of support from the wind, the rain, that our compadre, Mr. Trump, is willing to lie about. He'll tell you that the sun called him, not the S-U-N sun from the planet, which would be impossible, but the son, S-O-N, of God. He is an amazing man, a charismatic guy, and if you think that he's not an attraction, you have to remember that he is the leader. He has come and captured the minds and souls of so many of your sisters and brothers, people who are good, clean thinking folk who simply want to see a change in what they think is, not a perfect situation. None of us think it's a perfect situation, but I think most of us don't want to see it just turned inside out simply because it's not perfect. It is working, and it does allow us to move toward perfection. And it allows us to talk to each other. It allows us to dispute each other. And it allows us to call each other crazy, silly names, which I'm involved in because I call them a Trumpite. And I'm ashamed of myself. I shouldn't, and we all bend to the pressure sometimes. So I am going to apologize for calling them a Trumpite. But then again, I apologized just now, didn't I? Should I start over again? I don't know. Anyway, this is a battle against good and evil. When I say evil, I'm talking about those things that suppress the vote, that suppress personalities, that suppress morality, that suppress a section of our community of America to second class, third class, fourth class citizenship. We are a country of immigrants. We are a country that is made up of immigrants who have fought to get here, who climbed the mountains, who hungered, who thirsted. And then, of course, we've got the migrant, the original stolen migrant, my brothers, my sisters, my ancestors, the black folk who came here to, what did we come here to do anything? We came here and did some things, but we didn't come here to do something because that would indicate we came here on purpose. We came here because we were stolen and loaded onto slave ships, stacked on top of each other in a manner that is very disgusting, terrible deal. And when we landed here, we were put to work. And we built one of the greatest one of the greatest civilizations on the planet. And we did it from the position of bottom. We did it from the position of have to in order to live. But as we were living a forced life, we also created another life, a spiritual life. Found joy even in slavery.
Yeah.
Found joy in our ability to reach back to our ancestors, despite the fact that there was a big fence of interference. Fences seem to be one of the things that the folks we disagree with want to build, fences, whereas we are bridge builders. We are people who want to understand and get you, as the rest of the world, to understand that because of miscegenation, because of rape, we can call it miscegenation, but let's call it what it was, rape. Same people that wanted to treat black folks like animals were greatly attracted to the women that they wanted to treat like animals.
Yep.
And they did treat us like animals. They raped us, did what they wanted to do. Still, there's joy.
Yeah.
There's spiritual joy. There's anticipation of another world, of another time, of a time of getting along.
Yes.
And in the midst of being hated, in the midst of being placed in a state of emergency, in the midst of knowing that our children, as they're growing up, if they get to grow up, if they are born alive, black folks have the highest infant mortality rate, the highest childbirth mortality rate. It's nothing to do with our bodies, nothing to do with the lack of strength. It has to do with the lack of attention. Lack of attention, lack of willpower by our government, by the folks who have helped normalize the whole concept of black folks being third, fourth class citizens. I won't even say second class, because if you were second class, you would at least be getting the full attention of a hate program. Federal government created a bit of a hate program during the pandemic when our then president, Mr. Trump, blamed Chinese people for the pandemic. And naturally, he let you know that all Asians look alike, and so you don't have to figure whether they're Chinese or not. If they're not American, and if they're not white, if they're got a yellow tint to their skin, or maybe an angle to their eyes, you should, get in their ass. And they did.
Wow.
They did. And they created a mean attitude across America that California did, doing what it normally does, says, well, we got to do something about that. California put together between the 2021 and 2023 some $200 million to fight hate, primarily because it was brought to their attention that our Asian community was being so mistreated. That was second-class citizenship. Third, fourth-class citizenship is when 1965, when the city of Palm Springs decided it wanted to expand and take over downtown, Section 14, they just started burning houses down that were occupied by black folks.
Wow.
They burned them down, they bowled them down, and you could say, well, they probably did it by eminent domain and notified everybody that they were going to do that. Nope. Nope. You could look at the city records and see where they just ignored the whole concept of notifying people. That's what makes it so racist, because they could have done it the legal way. They could have, and it would have been it would have been painful, but not as painful as coming home from work or coming home from school and finding that the home that you left earlier that day is no longer there, and all that was in it is burned.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Now that's third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh class citizenship there.
That's no citizenship.
Oh, man. Now listen to the time frame. I said 1965, 66. What else was going on in America in 1965? The Civil Rights Bill. My goodness. We were actually acknowledging that people had the right civil rights. So not only did the city of Palm Springs ignore the statutory rights of black folk, and how do I know they did that? Well, the state's attorney general called the whole episode in a report in 1968. They called the whole episode, they said it was a city-engineered Holocaust. Now, you know we don't use that word lightly.
Wow.
We can't. We're not allowed to use that word lightly. A city-engineered Holocaust, where the city of Palm Springs forgot, if they ever remembered, that black folks are human beings, not citizens, not residents, human beings. That's a statement written on paper on the letterhead of the California Attorney General's office.
Holocaust.
So we would expect that if the Attorney General acknowledged it as such, right after the Civil Rights Act was signed, that there would have been something done about it. So what we have is another example of the long-running history of institutional racism. Institutional racism, an example of why I say there is a state of emergency in the black community. Why we have some issues that are so long-term that they've just been normalized. Oh, another situation. Another black man shot by the police. Well, there was 3 this week, so we can't worry about remembering the name of the first one. So we've got a problem, but there's still joy in the black community.
Yes.
Yes, sir, and enough joy to try to spread around.
Yes.
And so with that, I'm happy again this Sunday morning that God woke me up and allowed me to come to talk to you about the joy in our community that we are spreading effectively, because as we walk the street, people don't run away from us. As they look at our heroes, they run toward them. Oh, there's some people who are definitely trying to play a Trumpish card. But we're getting along, and we're going to get along much better. Part of that is the people in Palm Springs have not given up. There are people in Palm Springs who were children coming home from school to see the smoke, the homes that were there in the morning that are not there in the daytime. I want to bring Pearl Devers on and ask Miss Pearl to remember something with me. Pearl, how are you this morning?
First of all, thank you for having us. I'm doing great, thank you.
That's an example of our strength. That's an example of our joy. Listen to that beautiful voice. It doesn't tremor or shake. It doesn't sound like she is aware. Pearl, do you remember how long it took for them to ultimately burn down and destroy all 200 plus houses in Palm Springs? It didn't happen in a week, right?
No, it was over a period of time.
Yeah, that period of time probably was it a month?
No, it was years.
Oh my goodness, how terrorizing. How terrorizing for a period of over a year. People coming home, if they came home and their house was there, could they get a night's sleep? No, because tomorrow they're wondering, are they next? I'm telling you, the issue is not an easy one to deal with. We are going to deal with it, though. You have an attorney working with you, Ms. Martin, who is kind of a legend to be.
Yeah,
she's working with you. She's also working with, once again, the lady I would like to say is a good friend of mine, part of, the family, but she's not. I'm talking about Miss Kamala Harris. I like to say she's, a phone buddy, but she's not. I get text messages from her every day, 2 or 3 times.
I do too.
And I'm going to respond positively before it's over, but I kind of like seeing the messages, and I'm afraid that if I respond too quickly with the money right now, I may not get called again because I don't have that much money. But I am joyfully excited every time I see either Tim's name or Kamala's name or Barack's name, all telling me, hey, we got to support Kamala.
Yeah.
And we do. Ms. Martin, how are you this morning?
Thank you for having us back.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure to have you back. I wish that I was on every day so I could have you on every day so that we can remind people every day of the battle that is a battle, because part of the battle is simply to get people to understand that it is not normal. It should not be normal for us to have to sit our sons down and have the talk about the police. There should be nothing normal about telling our kids that they've got to figure out a way to find the right angle so that they find the proper spot on the policeman's behind to kiss it in order to get home safely. But we do that. And we've kind of brought that into a tradition.
Yeah.
Have you had the talk with your son? Why should I have to have the talk with my son? Well, because we're in a racist nation. Oh, don't you know we're in a situation where it's an emergency in the black community where if you don't talk to the police right, they may take your life.
Yeah.
And then we'll forget about you 2 or 3 days later because chances are they may take somebody else's life. So you're working on the campaign to help change the pain. Ms. Martin.
Yes, I'm honored. I was an at-large delegate for the state of California to the DNC, and yesterday I was a part of a leadership team that organized 5 fundraising events across Southern California for the Harris-Wallace campaign team. We raised over $1 million with 5 different events. We have another event today that features Black Hollywood, both talent and producers and entertainment lawyers who are coming together because they recognize the existential crisis that this country is in and the incredible risk to our democracy if Donald Trump is reelected as president. And I'm just so inspired. People across this state are getting it. I'm actually embarking upon a 7-state battleground tour, kicking off in Phoenix on Indigenous People Day. One of the largest Black indigenous populations reside in Phoenix, Arizona. And there are voters out there, Wallace, who still don't know who they are going to vote for or if they are going to vote at all. And we all have a responsibility to make sure we are talking to our friends, our neighbors, and everyone that we can so that they can understand and appreciate the significance of their voice and their vote.
Is there any danger that there are knucklehead people like Wallace who are enjoying the campaign but haven't joined in the campaign financially? So I'm going to give you permission or request to harangue me and any and everybody who happens to be like me who knows the issue and they feel safe. Well, California, we're going to do okay with our voting. I have talked to a few of my friends back east, a few in Texas, a few in Mississippi, and I haven't had the nerve, but I need to call my friends in Georgia and be sure that they're voting. And I haven't done that, and I consider that part of my contribution. But I need you to harangue me and remind me and my partners or comrades how important it is to send a few bucks. What does my dollar mean?
Your dollar means everything, and I'm glad you brought that up, Wallace, because I was having this conversation. A lot of African-American families don't grow up focused on political fundraising or political campaign contributions. Many of us that grow up in Black church learn about tithing and giving our regular tithes and our offerings to church every Sunday. And that's great, and I have nothing negative to say about tithing. But in addition to tithing, we also, I hope, can appreciate the importance of giving money to both charities, that is, nonprofit organizations that do so much work, that fill in the gap where government can't, and then to campaigns. If we want to see folks like Kamala Harris, if we want to see folks like Adam Schiff elected to office, whether it's state office or local office or national office, we've got to be a part of that process. And unfortunately, today, running for president is a $2 billion plus proposition. That's billion with a B. And nobody likes it, but it was a decision made by our Supreme Court when they passed
the social media companies who are receiving that money like it. The TV stations that are receiving that money like it. The newspapers that are receiving the money like it. The newspapers that are not receiving the money, like West Side Story, like other black papers, we ain't that excited about that fact, but we are still supportive, and we are still pushing people to vote, and sometimes that may, in our minds, replace the need for some cash. But let me add...
Well, Wallace, it could be as little as $5, $10.
Listen,
Barack Obama in 2008 taught us that we can give small
I
amounts.
spent $15. I spent $15 on a hamburger yesterday. All right? Now, it was a good hamburger, but it wasn't that good. And I say that because I could have gone and bought a $5, $6 hamburger and gave the 10 to Kamala. And that's what I'm suggesting is that, okay, we give money to things and people and circumstances and situations and sometimes to places that we don't even like. We don't even want these businesses to survive. We just, I got to do this. I've got a man sitting next to me who's on the West Valley Water District, right?
Yes, sir.
I drink my water. I don't even want to pay my water bill. But I want Kamala to be president. So I've got this conflict. You know, and I know that there's other people with it, and I'm saying this to say, wake up, shake up, and get up out of that dizzy dum-dum and put the money, and you guys make it so easy. You know, I see the email, and I say, I'll get to it tomorrow. All I got to do is press a couple buttons, and, you know, the same money that I'm willing to let Amazon take every day for if I want to do this, if I want to do that, it's all hooked up to my PayPal. I can do that. And folks, that's what we have to do. And I promise that when you talk to me tomorrow, I will have contributed at least $25. How's that? Does that help?
Thank you, Wallace. Thank you for that contribution in advance, and thank you for encouraging your listeners to do the same, because that $25 that you give, that your listeners give, that adds up.
That's true.
And that's how we win this campaign. That's how we ensure our democracy. That's how we will ensure that the rights that we have fought for, that those rights you talked about from the 1960 civil rights movement, that they are restored and they are maintained.
Well, I wish you total success in your endeavors for the rest of the day, and actual total success in your efforts for the survivors of Palm Springs Section 14. I know that there is a signal and a message for all of the planet that's waiting to see when America is going to start actually nourishing the roses as opposed to fertilizing the cactus. And that's what we've been doing. We've got some live plant growing in America, but it's got a lot of cactuses on it, and we're too many stickers on our roses. We need to let the flowers grow and blossom, the fairness be the thing that people talk about, as opposed to the hypocrisy that we tend to represent as we talk about freedom and love and peace. So with that, I look forward to being able to update people more on something successful in terms of the Palm Springs City Council, realizing that they are a product of liberty and justice and diversity, and part of the civil rights movement that black folk bled and fought for, and white people, and the whole rainbow of folk. And I say rainbow so that they can understand. That rainbow has been able to settle itself around the diocese of the Palm Springs City Council. And that rainbow somehow has adopted and decided that it wants to bring with it and support the 1965 bigots as opposed to supporting the people who have allowed for them to walk with pride and to govern a city like Palm Springs that has an international appeal. And we want to continue that appeal in terms of fairness, in terms of opportunity, in terms of integrity, investment. And right now, they don't know who they are. And I think it's up to us to remind them that they have no responsibility to drag with them the bigotry of the 60s into the 21st century.
Wallace, can I just invite you to join us this Thursday at the Palm Springs City Council meeting at 5 p.m.? I would love for you to say to those city council members in a public forum to their faces what you just said so eloquently about the rights and privileges that many on that council enjoy because of the struggles and the fights of civil rights pioneers from the 50s and 60s.
I am working it out so that Wifey Pooh and I will figure out how to spend the night in Palm Springs as opposed to worry about driving home. Because I know we'll say 5 o'clock, but I also know that they're not going to let me talk till 11 o'clock at night. So it's not a trick, it's a plan, it's the way they do it. And,
well, we'll have lots of water and snacks for you to make your stay comfortable.
Well, I would like to be able to eat a slice of watermelon as I talk to them. All right, I love you guys, and stay with it.
Thank you
and
so much. We'll
I'm
be in
definitely
touch.
accepting the offer, and stay strong. And tell my friend Kamala that I said I want to be friends. Okay, and if she would like to talk to us one Sunday morning for 5-10 seconds, I would echo that forever. But either way, we're going to vote for her, and I'm going to send her $25, and I'm going to keep claiming that she's a good friend of mine. So
fantastic.
Let it go.
Thank you for your great work.
Not a problem. Ms. Martin, thank you. And Pearl, thank you so much, and we will see you Thursday. God bless you.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Well, I ran it a little bit longer than I intended to, but and I spoke to you guys about a gentleman sitting next to me being a member of the West Valley Water District. Nah, you won't need those.
Cool.
West Valley Water District, Mr. Kelvin Moore. Kelvin, how are you this morning?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed.
Everybody doesn't
I'm
know
blessed.
that, but if you're
I'm blessed. You talked about that. You talked about that joy, and
yes,
I have it. You know, we are victorious people, and we have a victorious spirit.
Resilient. Yes.
We're resilient,
Yes.
and through our history, we've seen how resilient we are from way back. But God created us that way.
And let me say this.
Yeah.
White people can take a little credit if they want to, you know, because the rape was real.
Yep.
And the miscegenation was real.
Yes, it was.
And the blood exchange is real.
Very real.
Okay, so as we are black folk, we still have that white blood of sorts. And we are the world. And I think you, Kelvin, as you go to your family reunion, as I go to mine, as most of us go to a family reunion.
Yep.
If you claim blackness and you go to a family reunion, you have to, when you get there, you have to accept all of the shades of black.
Every last one.
All the way to the white shade
Yep.
of black. Y'all don't think y'all
Albino,
don't know what I'm talking
high
about.
yellow, all of it.
No, I'm talking about white. I'm talking about blue-eyed, blonde hair, white.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
That is at the family reunion of black
Yep.
folk.
Yep.
So we are used to hugging and kissing every hue. So this move is not to shut anyone out. So don't let anybody tell you they're trying to take over. No, we're simply trying to hug and love everybody that looks like us and could be part of our family, real or imagined.
That's it.
And that's the deal. You're running for city council in Rialto.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am.
You mean you can't fix every problem in the city of Rialto from your position at the water board?
Not every. One thing I love about the water board that we've been able to do is basically educate our community on conservation. And in West Valley, we didn't have any rate increases. We haven't had rate increases in over like 5 years. Because our team, our constituents are so wise in their water. And we didn't have to no one has really, dead lawns in our areas. But yet, there's still something that people don't know that's beyond the faucet. You turn the faucet on, the water comes on, but there's so much that we've been educating them on what's behind the faucet, what it takes. Infrastructure is what it takes. Water's free. Infrastructure and transportation of it is not. So I've learned that myself. So whatever I learn, I share. I share at the dinner table. I share at schools to let them know water's is like Jesus. You can't do without it.
Are all of the other water boards in the Inland Empire able to say that they have not increased the rates because they have educated their constituency so well in terms of water conservation that they didn't have to?
I don't know. I've been to a couple of meetings where people have gotten their rates raised in other cities and even other entities. We're a special district. West Valley is. We also
Are you special district because you have been able to educate people to not, or is that just a term?
It's a design of different capacities of Rialto. Some of us Rialto Water, and then we have our department, West Valley Water, which covers some parts of Bloomington, some parts of Fontana, some parts of San Bernardino, and Rialto. So it's a mixed bag there, but I think what we
So you got people in San Bernardino that you're serving,
yeah,
people in Fontana that you're serving,
yeah,
that haven't had their water rates turned up.
No.
They increased.
No.
But they may live across the street from somebody that's being served by another water district.
They get us mixed up with Rialto Water all the time, and I get calls about that all the time because of some service issues there.
Oh, they're calling you to try to get you guys to be like Rialto Water District?
No, that what happened, why is our water bill changing? Well, it's like, well, so I went to a city council meeting to speak to it because it's like, that's not us. Another person was in the audience. She goes, West Valley is here. They're not the ones. So
see how hard I have to work to get people to brag.
Yeah.
He wasn't gonna.
So we believe mainly in educating our folks. We do workshops about 4 times a year on various topics. We have a thing going on now. We have an expansion on our Romer plant, which right now processes 14 million gallons a day of water, of just purifying it and getting it ready for drinking. When they're done with that project, which should be sometime next year, we'll be doing 21 million gallons a day of service. But
what is it about your process in working with the people from the water district position that you would carry over to your position as city council person if you were elected? What is it about what's going on at the city council level in Rialto that you would do differently or bring to the table that's different to make Rialto better?
One thing we brought to water in our board is, first, we have a diverse board, but also we have a transparent board. So all of our reports are there. The customer gets a report of water quality every month, the testings that are going on to see what their water looks like. We also have the financials online.
Do you guys test other people's water?
No, we test our own.
Could you test other people's water? I mean, as a service.
Oh.
As a service, if I were concerned about the lead content in my water and I talked to my district and they said, it's okay, and I asked them to show me a test and they said, it costs you $5, $10. If I say, well, could I collect some water and bring it to you over in Rialto and get you guys to test it, would you do that?
Probably advise the other agency that they should do it, because they have nothing. It's nothing to hide. I mean, it's a test, right?
Okay, if it's nothing to hide, and if it's something that you guys do, is it something that they all do? You say transparency. Is that
everybody
is that
should
extra transparent?
They should be testing.
Or
that's just basic transparency.
That's basic
testing of the water, because you have to have safe, drinkable water.
Okay, so let's switch back over to city council.
Okay.
What with the city's operation isn't transparent as far as you're concerned?
I think some of the communications, mainly right now, the big hot spot is like warehousing. Um, Warehouses being built, or lately the planning of some of the things. Like we have a what you call a specific plan, right? So if you have a specific plan on what development's going to happen there, there was a time where you had what you call zone meetings. Your different quadrants of Rialto would meet with your council, your police department, fire department. Just talk about the issues in your hood and in your surrounding area.
Per zone.
Yeah. No, this is in person before COVID hit. We used to do that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm saying, but per zone. You said
Yeah,
they
per zone,
were
per zone, yes,
zone.
yes.
And
It stopped.
do you elect people are you city council? Are you elected on a per zone basis?
No, it's at large.
Okay, you're elected at large, but you have
They have-
zones that you could discuss areas that people live in and
Yes.
how they're affected. And their zones are particularly important because it describes the kind of buildings and operations and businesses that could go in those particular zones.
Well, also too, you can hear the issues of people in those zones.
Well, now we have planning commissions.
Yeah,
right?
we have planning commission.
And you have planning commission
And-
meetings.
We have planning commission meetings.
Would those things not be discussed in the planning commission meetings?
No, they should be.
They should be.
They should be. Yes.
Okay,
They
so,
should be.
So that at some point,
Uh,
nothing should come to city council for planning or vote that hasn't been
been
through
through- yes.
some type of commission.
Exactly.
So, but you're saying the commissions are not transparent enough.
Exactly.
I'm putting words out here.
Exactly.
You only
That's
use the
exact-
ones you want to
My
use.
thing
Don't
is
let
this.
me put words in
I'm
your
just.
mouth.
I'm saying this. There are things that happen that aren't actually revealed to them. Yes. So there's a transparent issue there.
Is there a particular issue
Mm-hmm.
that you would discuss or describe as the genesis for why you are so concerned about transparency as one of
yeah.
the first things you bring up as to why you should be on the city council?
Well, one thing I would bring up basically are the basic things as far as the works. Say your street cleaners, your street repairers, potholes, those type of things, and that's ran through the city. I would like to know what's the plan for getting those taken care of? What's the expectation? And have that lined
more
out.
potholes and
More-
lights going out
Yeah.
that you don't want to have going out?
Potholes, and then also with warehouses, how many warehouses are not being used that we have built already in our city, and what does that add to in square footage? So if we have so much of warehousing that's empty, not being used, why are we building more? Why are we putting more up there that could be zoned for something else?
Let's ask that question. How does the city get paid by warehouses? I mean,
Yeah.
do we get paid a property tax,
Gets-
so it doesn't matter whether it's occupied or not? Or do we get paid based on the amount of traffic that warehouse
Well-
does or business that they do?
And that's key too, because your traffic affects your roads.
Well, absolutely. So
It
if we got
affects
an
your-
empty warehouse
Yeah,
that nobody's coming to, it's not affecting the roads.
it's not affecting the roads.
So if we have a empty warehouse that's paying the same amount of tax money or delivering the same financial benefit to the city as a full warehouse, and so I'm asking that question because I don't know.
Because what you have there, sometimes you have loitering. People hide in them. They're not managed per se. Neighborhoods where there are people are managed. It takes resources, and we know that. But it's about safety. So if you put a warehouse, say, next to a housing tract, right? There's things that can happen if it's empty.
Do we have that occurring?
There's an attempt right now over on Locust and West Coast, which is an undeveloped area. And we just had a meeting in council, and it came out in a meeting through the developer, his representation, that he did not contact all the neighbors that were aware that there's people that within like 100 feet away, and then there's a crossing over there to cross across Locust, and they said it's going to be about 127 cars, something like that a day. But the thing is, it's an undeveloped area, so they don't have sidewalks. So the kids are already walking on the streets. They said they would pave that area, but people make promises all the time. But the thing is, it's right there at the base of the
So
neighborhood.
with that kind of situation, how would transparency help that? Would transparency have made them contract better so that if you say you're going to build sidewalks, at the same time you build the building, the sidewalks get built?
I think.
How do we?
I think myself, a great meeting should have occurred in the north side period of any going in any direction, right? Just in a team meeting. They said they went door to door, and the neighbors that came out to show up and say no one's talked to me. They said they sent out 200 emails. No one got an email. That's what we're hearing.
Yeah.
And then it was another step that was missed in the process through. I think it's called EDR. It's an environmental testing thing, the environmental process. So there's a lot of things that came out that just didn't look right, didn't pass the smell test. So I think in hindsight, because what they did, instead of saying this, we're not going to do this, they said basically that they're postponing it. So I think in that postponement, what they should do, I would meet with the homeowners and with the developer, and maybe he can develop something else there rather than a warehouse, maybe a store. Because it's a food desert up there, as far as we're concerned, or some other option that we need, that the neighborhood would say, oh, this is so cool.
What else, transparency-wise, is a issue for you, or is it just on the subject of warehousing?
That's one, and just basically not having the not the one-on-one, but at least the group settings that we used to have, the intimate settings with the community, where we had that face-to-face in a meeting.
So you'd like to see those zone meeting types of situations coming back?
Yes.
Since they were there prominently before the COVID.
Yeah.
COVID is gone.
And what happens is if you don't have your community out there all the time, or at least partially, you should know who your area police officer is. It's not community policing, but it's the next best thing when you know who your officer is. Hey, this is your point of contact for this area. Big difference. We was in North Rialto. I've been there for 22 years, and we had a Lieutenant Carroll. His name was Mr. Carroll, Andy Carroll. 10 years. And I had any problems, call him on his phone. Little nuisance stuff, whatever. I have any questions, I can get it. So I'm not at odds, and I'm not uncomfortable. And they're not uncomfortable. It just puts that tone in. But of course, he lived in our community too, which makes a big difference. I'd like to see more of that, where they're coming from our community.
As a member of the water department, you've found, not the water department, but so. You found that communication level with the community.
Yeah.
Something that they're willing to participate in.
Yeah.
And what would be necessary to get your, if you're elected, your fellow council people, what would be necessary to get those things brought back? Can you, as one council person, solve this situation?
No, we're gonna have to, have a collective effort on it. We got to all understand the value of it, and it's kind of like, how do you put it? It's kind of like a case manager type of thing, right? You're in the community. They know you're going to be there every other month on the third Wednesday, whatever. People know that. They're going to meet you there. It's not going to be a bunch of them, but there'll be some people that are going to go sometimes not. It might have some incidentals they can talk to you about before they become these huge problems. Because sometimes we get the phone calls, right, that are elevated, or something crazy happens, when it could have been handled at the ground level of just me and you talking, and I can give you an answer why we can't do that. And I think that's huge. I think that's huge with anybody, with communication. People need to be communicated to, not at, but to.
Okay. So that's one leg of your candidacy.
Yeah.
What else are you running on? Let's let you give your speech.
Okay. So I'm running on something else too. I'm running because I believe that we should have. I don't believe in affordable housing at all, because it's much better to have housing people can afford. I'm learning that the affordable title.
So you're playing a word game there. I like that.
That's what it is. Though,
Well,
when you
the
think
thing
about
is,
it.
when they say affordable housing, they have not set any standards in
No.
terms of the cost
No.
for affordable housing.
No.
They usually say, well, affordable housing is based on the fact that everything else I'm building is going to cost $1 million.
Exactly.
And so it's more affordable because I'm only going to charge $900,000 for the other house.
Yeah, which they can afford.
Oh, that's not affordable
Yeah.
enough? Okay, how about $850,000? That's
That's-
not enough? Well, I can't go
Ain't gonna
lower
lower
than
than that.
$600,000.
So
I can't.
So
That's-
we need
yeah.
to be more mindful, and when we say that we're going to
How do we do that? Because it's very easy for me to say, I want the quality of my $15 hamburger, but I don't want to pay but $6.
Yeah.
Now, how do
yeah.
okay, great, Wallace. How do you do that? Well, maybe instead of a 2-ounce burger, I'm going to get a
1-ounce
burger
and a pickle.
and a pickle. Yeah. How do we do that with housing?
Housing.
It's one thing to say we're going to do affordable housing. We're going to make it easier for people. Maybe some kind of rule that says if you build warehouses and you don't fill them in 6 months, you're going to have to put some partitions in there and start letting unhoused people
go
stay
in
there
there.
until you can give me some type of plan or contract that you're going to use the warehouse for something else.
True, but yeah, that's huge though, because
Mark that down. That's a crazy Wallace idea that may end up happening.
crazy times require crazy ideas. But we have people here that are in their 50s, 40s, 30s, and they're in their 50s, 30s, 40s, have worked and making good money, who still can't afford a house here. They can't afford $900,000, $800,000 for a house. If you got not menial workers, people that's making an average of like $60,000 a year, it's almost impossible. So we have to figure out a way to get with developers.
Do you have the state has said that additional housing units or accessible housing units could be built in people's backyards, and that the cities need to accommodate that law. And I understand that even the Attorney General, after a year of watching people dance around it, has stated, that they're putting in some standards to really pressure cities to allow that to happen. What is your feeling about backyard houses? People who've got a backyard being able to build a house in it, or a small house, or however much room they've got.
I think it's a great idea. I was raised in Compton, but we would go to Wilmington and Long Beach, and there are several examples of how those front house, back houses work. And there's a few in Compton. So yeah, that would be a great idea for extended family. Say you got your
the idea is in place. It's
yeah.
just in the city of Rialto. Do you have an idea of where we are with something like that?
I've heard nothing.
Is that on the agenda?
I've heard
Is that
nothing
something
about
that
that. I will find out.
Well, you got about 25 days.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I know. There's
push, to grab that and throw it on the table.
Yeah, I
in
know.
terms
There's
of
been
these
talk.
people
There's been
voting.
talk. I know the mayor's aware of it, and
How
she's.
many apartment buildings are you guys thinking about build? I know we've built a bunch of apartment buildings right there on Foothill, just before Cedar. It looked great.
Yeah.
I know in the city of Highland they've built a ton of
Huge.
apartment
A
buildings
lot.
out on Fifth Street. I mean, deep. Do we want to build a ghetto, or are we looking more at spreading people out across the city with our affordable housing? And I say that because I'm wondering, is it easier to build a 400-unit apartment building, or to find 400 backyards in Rialto to put additional housing in?
I think it might be a mix of both.
That's a good political answer.
I think it might be a mix
That's
of both,
that's
because you're going to have
that's
some people that be like, okay, ADU, I'm down. Let's get it done. You
Okay.
know what I mean? I can get this done. You're going to have some that's not going to want to, for privacy or whatever, and then you're going to have some that might be just on the fence with
So
it.
to have a survey and actually find out why someone would want it and someone wouldn't want it, because if it's about privacy, now we're talking about a little landscaping and, you know, how do you create privacy, because
Yeah.
you can do that.
Yeah.
Palm Springs that's one of the great things that I've seen in Palm Springs is where they'll put these apartments or condos right with each other, and you go in them and you think you're the only one on the planet. So I mean, there's
Yeah.
a way to design
Yeah.
these things for privacy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the other major thing? Let's assume we got, and you've got about 2 minutes. This is the quickest hour on radio.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so what is the other major thing you'd like
working
to-
with the unhoused, and also with seniors. There's a lot of seniors that are being priced out of their homes and out of their living spaces. We don't have enough. I wouldn't say low income, but subsidized living for seniors. Everybody doesn't have a family they can go to. Some are living just on Social Security, and they're being priced out. If you're getting $1,400 a month for Social Security,
Some of those people
and-
have a house,
and your rent,
and their rent or
up.
their house note or their taxes on the
Yeah.
house could be, so an additional house in their backyard might
for
save
those
the old
people,
steak.
yes.
Yeah.
Now that would be a great idea for
Well,
those
depending.
people.
Now we just said,
But-
could we find 400 housing backyards? You know, do we think, hey, we've got a problem where there's 400 seniors who live in the house that they bought that are having that could use some extra income and would
So-
be happy to generate it in their backyard?
So take the ones that are being priced out in the apartment and put them there. But they're going to need some sort of subsidiary anyway, because where can you live for $1,200 a month?
Well, I'm going to be quiet
nowadays?
and give you at least 30 seconds to say why I vote for you.
I'm just a guy that's been in Rialto for 23 years. Raised my family here. Love this city. Seen a lot of progression in it. The mayor's doing a great job making changes. I've just seen a decline in the transparency lately, and we've had a lot of turnover in our city manager as well. So we can't run an efficient business without a consistent city manager, and just finding out those things that are why we don't have those things, why we can't get subsidized housing for our elderly, and why we don't have they don't have the food that they need. So just working on those basic needs, and then also for our youth as well.
Kelvin, we're out of time, but I'm
you
endorsing
cut
you.
me out.
No, I did. I'm cutting you
Okay.
off because
Okay.
we're out of time.
Okay.
But I am endorsing you, and I'm advising people to vote for you. I think you're a
Okay.
great guy. You've done a great job on the water district, and I think you'll do a good job in city council. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We're out of here. We'll see you next week under two circumstances. One, the good Lord's willing. Two, if the creek don't rise. Take that back.
creek
We
don't
won't see you
rise.
next week because, well, I'll see you next week. But we're moving. We're moving to Sierra.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda.